The alarm bells rang through the communication center of the Galactic Council station. Officer Thisara's forearms moved quickly across her control panel as red lights flashed everywhere. Her pale blue skin turned even lighter as she read the incoming message. "Emergency transmission from Kepler 442b colony," she announced to the control room. Her voice shook slightly. "They are under attack." Commander Velnox rushed to her station. His tall, thin frame bent over the displays as he read the desperate message. The words made his heart sink. The peaceful mining colony was being destroyed by Kresh warships. "How many ships are attacking them?" he asked. 12 heavy cruisers and at least 40 smaller vessels," Thisara replied. "The colony administrator says they have maybe 2 days before complete destruction." The commander's face went dark. Everyone in the galaxy knew about the Kresh Dominion. They were brutal killers who conquered peaceful worlds and enslaved entire populations. The Galactic Council had been trying to negotiate with them for decades, but the Kresh only understood violence. "What about our defense fleet?" Velnox asked. "Admiral Quintar's ships are 3 weeks away," Thisara said quietly. "Even if they travel at maximum speed, they won't arrive in time." The control room fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. The Veltar colonists were going to die. There was nothing the Council could do to save them. On the distant mining world of Kepler 442b, colony administrator Zephi watched the sky burn. Kresh warships hung in the darkness above his world like angry metal stars. Their weapons lit up the night as they destroyed the orbital defense platforms one by one. "Sir, we need to evacuate the southern districts," his assistant said. "The bombardment is getting closer." Zephi nodded, but kept staring at the sky. His people had lived on this world for 60 years. They had built cities, raised families, and created a peaceful life far from the politics of the galaxy. Now it was all ending. "Send another distress signal," he ordered. "Broadcast it on all frequencies. Maybe someone will hear us." "Sir, we've already sent the message to the Council and all nearby systems. No one can reach us in time." "Send it anyway," Zephi said firmly. "Send it to everyone. Even if they can't help us, let the galaxy know what happened here." The transmission went out into space, carrying the desperate words of a dying world. It traveled past empty systems and dead worlds. It reached the ears of species who could only offer sympathy. Most who heard it felt sad but helpless. But in one small system called Sol, something different happened. The message reached Earth during the night shift at Terra Defense Command. Lieutenant Sam Mitchell was drinking his 3rd cup of coffee when the computer started beeping. He almost ignored it, thinking it was another false alarm from the deep space sensors. "What now?" he muttered, pulling up the message on his screen. The words made him sit up straight. It was written in basic galactic common language, which Earth's computers could translate. The message was simple but horrifying. Emergency distress call to all species. Kepler 442b colony under attack by Kresh forces. Civilian population of 2.3 million in immediate danger. Any assistance would be appreciated. We have little time left. Sam stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he picked up his phone and called Admiral Jake Morrison at home. "Admiral, we've got a situation," Sam said when Morrison answered. "I'm sending you an alien distress call right now." Morrison was quiet for a few seconds as he read the message on his personal tablet. When he spoke again, his voice was serious. "Is this real?" he asked. "The signal is definitely from deep space, sir. Our computers confirm it's not from any Earth source. The location matches star charts we received from those alien traders last year." "How far away is this colony?" Sam checked his calculations. "About 3 weeks travel time using our fastest ships, sir." Morrison was quiet again. Sam could hear him moving around, probably getting dressed. "Call President Carter," Morrison finally said. "Wake her up if you have to. Then contact Captain Ben Rodriguez and tell him to prep the retribution for immediate departure. I'm coming in." Back at the Galactic Council station, Thisara was still monitoring communications when something strange happened. Her equipment picked up a response signal from the unknown system called Sol 3. "Commander Velnox," she called out, her voice confused. "I'm receiving a response to the distress call." From which species? He asked, walking over to her station. Unknown. Sir, the signal is coming from a system we have no records of. They call themselves humans and they say they're from something called Earth. Velnox frowned. What do they say? Thaisara read the message carefully. It's very short, sir. They just say, distress signal received. Dispatching immediate assistance. That's all. That's impossible, Velnox said. No species responds to general distress calls from strangers. It goes against all diplomatic protocol. Should I reply to them? Thaisara asked. Yes, but ask them for more information. Find out what kind of help they can provide and when they can arrive. The response came back in less than an hour. It was just as short as the first message. Military vessel departing Sol system now. Estimated arrival in 17 days. Hold. Position and protect civilians. Velnox read the message 3 times. 17 days? That's impossible. Even our fastest ships would take at least 3 weeks to reach that system. Sir, there's something else, Thaisara said nervously. I did some research on this Sol system. According to our old exploration records, the 3rd planet is classified as a Class 12 death world. The commander's face went pale. Class 12 death worlds were planets so dangerous that most council species would die within hours of landing. High gravity, poisonous atmosphere, extreme weather, and deadly creatures were common on such worlds. What kind of species could survive on a planet like that? He whispered. I don't know, sir, Thaisara replied. But they're coming to help. On Earth, President Lisa Carter finished reading the situation report. She looked around the emergency.
Meeting room at her advisors and military leaders. So let me understand this correctly, she said.
Alien civilians are being slaughtered, and we're the only ones who can reach them in time? That's correct, Madam President, Admiral Morrison replied. The Retribution can make the journey in 17 days using our new quantum fold drive. What are the risks to our people? Unknown, ma'am. We don't know much about these Kresh attackers, but Captain Rodriguez and his crew are ready to go. Carter was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded firmly. Do it, she said. We can't let innocent people die when we have the power to help them. In space, the UES Retribution powered up its engines and began its journey toward a distant world in need. The UES Retribution cut through space like a silver knife. Captain Ben Rodriguez stood on the bridge watching the stars blur past as his ship traveled faster than any human vessel had ever gone before. The quantum fold drive hummed beneath his feet, bending space and time to bring them closer to their destination. How are we doing, Chief? Rodriguez asked his engineer. Chief Engineer Tony Martinez looked up from his console. Drive is running smooth, Captain. We'll reach the colony in 16 days at this speed. Maybe 15 if I push the engines a little harder. Don't push too hard, Rodriguez warned. We need this ship working when we get there. The captain walked over to where Lieutenant Commander Amy Walsh was studying tactical displays. Her screens showed everything they knew about the enemy forces attacking the colony. What do you think, Amy? He asked. Walsh shook her head grimly. 12 heavy cruisers and 40 smaller ships. That's a lot of firepower, Captain. Each of their cruisers is twice our size. Size isn't everything, Rodriguez replied. What about their weapons? Mostly plasma cannons and missile systems. Nothing we haven't seen before, but they have us outnumbered 52-1. Major Rick Collins walked onto the bridge carrying a tablet full of information. The Marine commander had been studying the alien species they were going to help. Captain, I've been reading about these Veltar people, Collins said. They're peaceful miners. No military training, no weapons. They've never fought a war in their entire history. What about the attackers? Rodriguez asked. The Kresher. Bad news, sir. They specialize in attacking defenseless worlds. Their usual tactic is to bombard cities from orbit until the population surrenders. Then they take slaves and steal everything valuable. Rodriguez felt anger rise in his chest. Attacking civilians was something humans had never tolerated, whether the victims were human or alien. How long have they been attacking the colony? He asked. 3 days now, Walsh replied, checking her communications. The latest message from the colony says they're hiding in underground shelters. The Kresh are taking their time, destroying everything on the surface first. They're playing with their food, Colin said angrily, making the civilians suffer before they finish them off. Dr. Kate Sullivan entered the bridge carrying her medical supplies. The chief medical officer had been preparing for casualties. "Captain, I've been studying Veltar biology," she said. "They're similar enough to humans that I can treat their injuries. But I'll need more medical supplies if there are many wounded." "We'll make room," Rodriguez promised. "How many survivors are we expecting?" "The colony started with 2.3 million people," Sullivan replied sadly. "But after 4 days of bombardment, there might be a lot fewer." The bridge fell quiet as everyone thought about the innocent lives being lost while they raced through space. Rodriguez knew his crew felt the same anger he did. Humans had learned long ago that sometimes good people had to fight to protect those who couldn't protect themselves. "Sir, incoming transmission from Earth," the communications officer announced. Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the main screen. Behind him, Rodriguez could see the busy control room of Terra Defense Command. "Captain, how's your journey going?" Morrison asked. "We're making good time, Admiral. 15 days to target." "Good. I have an update on the situation. Our deep space sensors have been tracking the Kresh fleet. They're not just attacking the colony anymore." Rodriguez felt his stomach tighten. "What do you mean?" "They've started landing troops on the planet's surface. Intelligence suggests they're rounding up civilians for slave transport." The bridge crew exchanged dark looks. Everyone knew what that meant. The Kresh weren't just destroying the colony anymore. They were taking prisoners. "Any word from the Galactic Council?" Rodriguez asked. Morrison shook his head. "Their fleet is still 2 weeks away. By the time they arrive, there won't be anyone left to save." "What about other species? Anyone else responding to the distress call?" "A few have offered sympathy and medical supplies, but no one else is sending military help." "Captain, it looks like we're the only ones willing to fight for these people." Rodriguez nodded grimly. "Understood, Admiral. We'll do what we can." "One more thing, Captain. The President wants you to know that whatever you decide to do out there, you have full government support. These people asked for help and we're going to give it to them." The transmission ended, leaving the bridge crew to think about what lay ahead. Rodriguez called his senior officers together for a planning meeting. "All right, people," he said when they were all assembled. "Let's talk about how we're going to fight 52 enemy ships with 1 human vessel." Colin spoke first. "If we try to fight them in open space, they'll overwhelm us with numbers. We need to be smarter than that." "What about the planet?" Walsh suggested. "If we can get close to the surface, their big ships won't be able to use their heavy weapons without hitting their own troops." "That's risky," Martinez warned. "We'd have to fight our way through their entire fleet to reach the planet." "Not necessarily," Rodriguez said, studying the tactical display. "What if we don't announce ourselves? What if we just appear in the middle of their formation?" Walsh's eyes lit up. "A fold space jump directly into the combat zone. They wouldn't expect that." "Can we do it?" Rodriguez asked Martinez. The engineer thought for a moment. "It's dangerous. One mistake and we could fold right into a planet or an enemy ship. But yes, it's possible." Dr. Sullivan raised a concern. "What about the civilians on the ground? How do we get them to safety?" "We'll need to secure a landing zone," Collins said. "My Marines can handle the Kresh ground forces while the ship deals with their fleet." "That means splitting our forces," Rodriguez pointed out. "It's the only way, Captain. We can't save the civilians if we're too busy fighting in space." Rodriguez looked around at his officers. These were good people, professionals who had volunteered to risk their lives for strangers they had never met. It made him proud to be human. "All right, here's what we're going to do," he said. "We'll jump directly into the system, right in the middle of their fleet. Amy, I want you to target their command ship first. Take out their leadership and the rest might panic." "What about their ground forces?" Collins asked. "You'll take 2 shuttles of Marines down to the surface, secure the civilian shelters and prepare them for evacuation. Kate, you go with the Marines. Start treating wounded as soon as you land." "And if the Kresh don't surrender?" Walsh asked. Rodriguez's expression hardened. Then we show them why you don't attack innocent people when humans are watching. The crew spent the next several days planning every detail of their attack. They studied enemy ship designs, practiced combat maneuvers, and prepared for every possible scenario. But deep down, everyone knew this was going to be the fight of their lives. As they got closer to their destination, Rodriguez found himself thinking about Earth. His home planet had taught humanity hard lessons about survival. Earth was a dangerous world where only the strong survived, but it had also taught humans to protect the weak. Now they were about to show the galaxy what those lessons meant. The UES Retribution dropped out of fold space right in the middle of the Kresh fleet. One moment, the space around Kepler 442b was filled with 52 enemy warships bombing the planet below. The next moment, a human vessel appeared among them, like a ghost materializing in daylight. Admiral Vexthor was drinking victory wine on his flagship when the alarm started screaming. The massive Kresh commander rushed to his bridge, his forearms waving in anger. "What is happening?" he roared at his crew. "Unknown vessel has appeared in our formation, Admiral," his weapons officer reported. "It just came out of nowhere." Vexthor looked at the main screen and saw a sleek silver ship that was much smaller than his cruisers. It looked almost elegant, compared to the brutal design of Kresh warships. "One ship?" he laughed. "One tiny ship dares to challenge my entire fleet?" "Sir, they're trying to communicate with us," the communications officer said. "Put them on screen. I want to see what kind of fools we're dealing with." Captain Rodriguez appeared on the Kresh flagship's main display. His calm human face showed no fear as he looked directly at Admiral Vexthor. "Kresh vessels, this is Captain Rodriguez of the UES Retribution. You are attacking innocent civilians. I'm ordering you to cease fire immediately and withdraw from this system." Admiral Vexthor burst into laughter. His bridge crew joined him, filling the air with harsh alien sounds. "You order me?" Vexthor said, still laughing. "Little creature, do you see how many ships I have? You are 1 against 52. Leave now and I might let you live." Rodriguez's expression didn't change. "You have 5 seconds to cease fire and withdraw, or we will consider you a hostile threat to civilian populations." "Or what?" Vexthor sneered. "You will fight my entire fleet with 1 ship?" "Yes," Rodriguez said simply. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The transmission ended. Admiral Vexthor was still chuckling when the first human weapons fired. The Retribution's kinetic cannons spoke with thunder that could be heard across the vacuum of space. Solid metal projectiles moving at incredible speed slammed into 3 Kresh cruisers before their crews even knew they were under attack. The impacts tore through alien armor like paper. "Return fire," Vexthor screamed. "All ships destroy that vessel." The Kresh fleet opened up with everything they had. Plasma bolts and missiles filled the space around the human ship. But the Retribution moved like nothing the aliens had ever seen. It twisted and turned between the enemy shots, its artificial gravity systems allowing maneuvers that would have crushed any normal crew. Lieutenant Commander Walsh sat at her tactical station, her fingers dancing over the controls. She had studied every piece of data about Kresh ships, and now she put that knowledge to work. "Target their weapons arrays first," Captain Rodriguez ordered. "Disable as many as we can." "Already on it, Captain," Walsh replied. Her plasma torpedoes streaked across space, each one finding its mark with deadly precision. Kresh ships, suddenly, found their main guns exploding in showers of sparks and metal. On the planet's surface, Major Collins and his Marines were fighting a different kind of battle. They had landed near the main civilian shelter, where thousands of Veltar families were hiding from the bombardment. "How many hostiles do we have?" Collins asked his sergeant. "About 200 Kresh soldiers between us and the civilians, sir," Sergeant Bill Adams replied. "They've got the shelter surrounded." Collins looked through his binoculars at the alien soldiers. The Kresh were big, mean-looking creatures with thick armor and heavy weapons. They had been having fun terrorizing the peaceful colonists. "Time to spoil their party," Collins said. "Remember, these people have been torturing civilians for days. No mercy." The human Marines attacked with a fury that the Kresh had never experienced. These weren't helpless colonists or diplomatic soldiers from the Galactic Council. These were warriors from a death world, trained to fight in the worst conditions imaginable. Collins led the charge himself, his rifle cutting down enemy soldiers as his team moved forward. The Kresh tried to fight back, but they were used to attacking. Defenseless victims, they had no idea how to handle humans who fought back with skill and determination. "Medic!" someone called out as they reached the shelter entrance. Dr. Sullivan was already there, treating wounded Veltar civilians who had been hurt in the bombardment. The alien colonists looked at her with amazement. They had never seen anyone risk their life for strangers before. "You came," whispered Zephi, the colony administrator. "You actually came to help us." "That's what humans do," Sullivan said, bandaging a child's injured arm. "We help people who need help." In space, the battle was turning into something the Kresh fleet couldn't understand. Their overwhelming numbers should have crushed the single human ship in minutes. Instead, they were losing vessels at an alarming rate. The Retribution fought like a predator among prey. It would appear behind one ship, destroy it with precise weapon fire, then disappear before the other ships could respond. Captain Rodriguez and his crew worked together like parts of a deadly machine. "Their command ship is trying to coordinate their attacks," Walsh reported. "If we take it out, the rest of their fleet will lose organization." "Do it," Rodriguez ordered. The human ship turned toward Admiral Vexthor's flagship. The massive alien vessel was 3 times larger than the Retribution, but size didn't matter when the smaller ship could move faster and shoot more accurately. Vexthor watched in horror as the human ship came straight at him. His weapons fired, desperately, but every shot missed as the enemy vessel danced between his plasma bolts. "How is this possible?" he screamed. "No ship can move like that." "Admiral, we're losing ships all across the fleet," his second-in-command reported. 17 vessels destroyed, 12 more disabled. Our remaining ships are requesting permission to retreat. "Never," Vexthor roared. "I will not be defeated by one ship." The Retribution's answer was a full spread of kinetic rounds that tore through the flagship's engines. The massive vessel shuddered and began to drift helplessly. On the planet, Major Collins had secured the civilian shelter and was organizing evacuations. His Marines had scattered the Kresh ground forces, capturing those who didn't run away. "Captain, this is Collins," he reported over the radio. "Ground forces neutralized. Civilians are secure and ready for evacuation." "Understood, Major," Rodriguez replied from the bridge. "How many survivors?" "About 2 million, sir. Dr. Sullivan says most of them are in good condition considering what they've been through." Rodriguez felt relief wash over him. They had arrived, in time to save most of the colonists. Back in space, Admiral Vexthor's fleet was falling apart. More than half his ships were either destroyed or disabled. The survivors were starting to break formation and flee. "Admiral," his communications officer said nervously, "we're receiving surrender requests from 12 of our remaining vessels." Vexthor looked at the tactical display in disbelief. One human ship had defeated his entire fleet. It seemed impossible, but the evidence was floating around him in the form of burning wreckage. "Sir, the human ship is hailing us again," the officer said. Captain Rodriguez appeared on screen once more. This time he wasn't alone. Behind him stood his officers, all looking calm and professional, despite having just won an impossible battle. "Admiral Vexthor," Rodriguez said, "your fleet is defeated. Order your remaining ships to withdraw immediately, or we will destroy them as well." Vexthor wanted to refuse, wanted to fight to the death rather than admit defeat. But he was a military commander and he could see the tactical situation clearly. His fleet was broken. "You cannot have won," he said weakly. "One ship cannot defeat 52. "You attacked innocent civilians," Rodriguez replied. "That was your mistake. Humans don't allow that to happen." The Kresh admiral stared at the human captain for a long moment. Then, slowly, he gave the order. His ancestors would have considered shameful. "All Kresh vessels withdraw from the system immediately," he said. "The humans have won this battle." 3 days after the battle, ships from across the galaxy began arriving at Kepler 442b. The Galactic Council fleet came first, their elegant white vessels looking almost peaceful compared to the scattered wreckage of Kresh warships still floating in space. Admiral Quintar stood on his flagship's bridge, staring at the destruction around the colony world. His aide, a young officer named Tessara, was reading damage reports with amazement in her voice. "Sir, our sensors show 31 Kresh vessels were completely destroyed," she said. 17 more were disabled and captured. Only 4 enemy ships escaped the system. Quintar shook his head slowly. "Impossible. No single ship could accomplish this." "The human vessel is still here, Admiral. They're helping with rescue operations on the planet's surface." "Show me," Quintar ordered. The main screen displayed the UES Retribution in orbit above the colony. Small human shuttles were moving back and forth between the ship and the planet, carrying supplies and medical equipment to help the survivors. "They stayed to help with cleanup?" Quintar asked, surprised. "Yes, sir. According to the colony administrator, they've been working around the clock to treat wounded civilians and repair critical infrastructure." An hour later, Admiral Quintar found himself aboard the human warship. Captain Rodriguez met him at the airlock, wearing a simple uniform that looked nothing like the elaborate ceremonial dress of council officers. "Admiral, welcome aboard," Rodriguez said politely. "I apologize for the mess. We're still making repairs from the battle." Quintar looked around the human ship with curiosity. Everything seemed designed for efficiency rather than beauty. The corridors were narrow, the lighting was harsh, and he could hear the constant hum of powerful machinery. "Captain, I must ask you directly," Quintar said. "How did one ship defeat an entire Kresh fleet?" Rodriguez seemed uncomfortable with the question. "We had good intelligence and better tactics. Plus, the Kresh weren't expecting any resistance, but the numbers were impossible. 52 ships against 1. Numbers don't always matter, Admiral. Sometimes it's about who wants to win more." They walked through the ship and Quintar met the human crew. He was struck by how young and ordinary they seemed. These weren't the superhuman warriors he had expected. They were just people doing their jobs. In the medical bay, Dr. Sullivan was treating Veltar patients alongside alien doctors who had arrived with the council fleet. The human doctor looked tired but kept working without complaint. "Doctor, how many casualties did you treat?" Quintar asked. "About 15,000 wounded," Sullivan replied without looking up from her patient. "Most will recover completely. These people are tougher than they look." "And your own casualties?" 7 injured, none killed." "We were lucky." Quintar was amazed. The humans had fought a massive battle and suffered almost no losses while saving millions of alien civilians. On the planet's surface, Major Collins was helping Veltar engineers repair their communication systems. The Marine commander worked alongside the alien technicians as if they were old friends. "Major, why did your people come here?" asked Zephi, the colony administrator. "You didn't know us. We couldn't offer you anything in return." Collins stopped working and looked at the alien administrator. "You asked for help. That's enough. But your people risked their lives for strangers." "That's what good people do," Collins said simply. "We help others when they need help." 2 weeks later, representatives from across the galaxy gathered at the Galactic Council headquarters. The Great Chamber was filled with delegates from dozens of species, all wanting to learn about the humans who had changed everything. President Carter appeared on the main display, speaking from Earth. Behind her, the other human leaders sat quietly, looking uncomfortable with all the attention. "Honored delegates," Carter began, "we appreciate your gratitude for our actions at Kepler 442b. But we want you to understand that we didn't do anything special. We simply responded to people in need." Council Speaker Morden, an elderly alien with silver skin, spoke for the assembly. "President Carter, your species accomplished something we thought impossible. You defeated a force that has terrorized the galaxy for centuries." "We got lucky," Carter replied. "The Kresh weren't prepared for determined resistance." "But why did you risk so much for people you had never met?" Carter was quiet for a moment. "On our world, we learned long ago that good people must stand up to bullies. If we don't protect the innocent, who will?" The council chamber erupted in discussion. Many species had never heard such thinking before. Most civilizations in the galaxy tried to avoid conflict, even when others were suffering. Ambassador Thesara, who had first received the human response to the distress call, asked the question many were thinking. What do humans want from the galaxy? What is your price for this protection? We don't want anything, Carter said. We're not looking to conquer territory or demand tribute. We just want peaceful people to be safe. Then what happens now? Speaker Mordan asked. Admiral Morrison appeared beside President Carter on the screen. We're establishing patrol routes along the outer territories. Any species that wants our protection just needs to ask. And if hostile forces attack peaceful worlds, then they'll learn what the Kresh learned, Morrison said firmly. Humans don't allow innocent people to be hurt. In the months that followed, the galaxy slowly adapted to its new reality. Human patrol ships appeared in distant systems where pirates and raiders had once operated freely. The mere sight of a human vessel was enough to send most troublemakers fleeing. Captain Steve Parker commanded one of these patrol ships. His vessel, the UES Guardian, was smaller than the Retribution, but just as deadly. Parker and his crew had volunteered for the dangerous job of protecting alien worlds. Captain, we're receiving a distress call from the Altair system, his communications officer reported. Slaver ships are attacking a transport convoy. Set course for Altair, maximum speed, Parker ordered, and send a message to the slavers. Tell them humans are coming. By the time the Guardian arrived, the slaver ships were already fleeing. Word had spread quickly through the criminal underworld. Humans meant business. On Earth, President Carter met with her military advisors to discuss the expanding patrol program. Thousands of volunteers had signed up to serve on the Guardian ships. How many systems are we protecting now, she asked. 47, Madam President, Admiral Morrison replied. And more are requesting our help every day. Can we handle that? Many commitments? As long as people keep volunteering, yes, it seems like every human wants to help protect innocent aliens. Lieutenant Colonel Maria Santos, one of the newest Guardian commanders, spoke up. Madam President, why are humans so willing to risk their lives for strangers? Carter thought about the question. I think it's because we remember what it was, like to be helpless. Earth taught us that life is hard and dangerous, but it also taught us that when good people work together, they can overcome anything. 6 months after the Battle of Kepler 442b, the galaxy was a different place. Peaceful species could travel safely through space. Pirates and raiders had mostly disappeared or joined legitimate businesses. Even the Kresh Dominion had stopped expanding, knowing that humans were watching. Captain Rodriguez, now promoted to Admiral, commanded the new Terran Guardian Corps from a base near the outer territories. His job was simple. Make sure innocent people could live without fear. Sir, we just received another request for protection, his aide reported. A mining colony in the Vega system is worried about raiders. Send the UES Defender, Rodriguez ordered, and remind the colonists that humans keep their promises. As he looked out at the stars, Rodriguez thought about how much had changed. A single distress call had transformed humanity from an unknown species into the galaxy's protectors. It was a responsibility they had never asked for, but one they accepted willingly. In the darkness between the stars, human ships patrolled silently. They were watching, waiting, ready to respond to anyone who needed help. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Somewhere out there, the Deathworlders were listening, and they would always come when called.